Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harding. Glad to be back with another incredible episode. I have a returning guest coming up. She was on the show in December. We talked, as you can see in the background, WNBA season is here, is upon us. It'll be starting in about 2 weeks. So very, very excited. Starting my WNBA preview series for the upcoming season. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, storylines, predictions, previews. Now we have a season coming here, so I'm excited, like I said, to chat WNBA with my latest guest. So before I bring her on, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. This is the 2026 WNBA preview series. Looking forward to this one to start off my WNBA preview series. But before we get it started, you can follow the show on all podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network Roku channel, wherever you consume podcasts. We're there, iHeartRadio as well. You can also follow me on all the social media platforms, whether it is Twitter, Instagram, where I'm most active, Facebook. Also have a TikTok and Blue Sky, Courtney Harden at Get the Real Deal. You can follow, like I said, follow and get all the previous episodes as well. All right, let me bring in my guest here, returning to the show for the second time. It was only right, like I said, it's the W season. This woman does a lot with the women's basketball, women's sports, just in general, women's sports, and sports in general as well. She's the host of Hoops and Healing podcast. As I said, you can watch the show when she was on previous show she was on back in December. So let me bring in Amanda Hoye. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I had a great
Yeah.
time last time, so I'm excited to chat again.
Yes, I'm excited to have you on. Excited to get chat again and talk about this W season, because the last time we did a show, you were just sharing your story, how you got started and things like that. But we did talk about it was Unrivaled was getting ready to start, but we didn't know there was going to be a W season. And now that we're here, we will have a WNBA season. So, and I had told you before, I wanted to bring you on once the season was getting ready to start. So we starting about less than 2 weeks. So we just had preseason. So glad to have you on to discuss the upcoming season.
Yeah, I was gonna say technically it's already here.
It
Preseason
is here. Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like a little bit different than the regular season. Obviously, people still fighting for roster spots, but
Yeah.
exciting to see them back on the floor, and also some international teams. That's always cool to see too.
Yes, there's definitely some it's great to see international teams playing the preseason. As we said, preseason started yesterday, Saturday. I watched the Liberty and the Fever yesterday just to get a
That's a good
little
one.
bit of a taste of the season's here. So so I'm excited to kind of jump in. But before we do, how have you been? What you've been up to since the last time we discussed, and talk a little bit about the things you had that you've been doing for the Hoops and Healing podcast as well.
Yeah, I love that question. I've been up to a lot. I know we were just talking about the last time we talked, and I was thinking
Yeah.
about like everything that happened for like women's sports, but also like personally. Really just been working really hard on my podcast, Hoops and Healing, as you mentioned, creating content. I started writing as well,
Okay.
and dabbling, with writing and media correspondence, which was, a big goal of mine. So kind of starting to get my feet wet in that sense. So getting to attend games as a media correspondent has been really cool. And then just continuing to grow my platforms and network and meet people like yourself in the sports space. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, just gotta working on stuff pretty much every day.
Yeah, now that like you
Yeah.
said, the season's up and moving right now. So yeah, so now like I said, congratulations on being a correspondent and writing. And I know the last time we talked, you were discussing that trying to being able to get credentials
Hmm.
and things like that. And it could be definitely be a challenge with that, but if you're able to do it, we take advantage of it and we do our do our best to present the content when it comes our way and having and we love doing this. We love talking about especially the women's basketball and it's exciting. So yeah, again, congrats on the writing and looking forward to seeing all the content you got coming up too. So,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm very excited. It's going to be a lot of work, but like you said, we love it. So, whether we're getting paid or not, we're going to do
We're
it.
gonna do it anyway, and I think some of the best things is as you said, connecting the networking and then things like that. It's always fun talking to other content creators or journalists and media
Hmm.
and everything too. We love to, have that networking and trying to just, especially with the WNBA in their 30th season, and which is historic in itself, coming up. But just to tell the stories and as me and you were talking beforehand, we were talking about we want to get back to the basketball in itself when it comes to this. So and discussing the game and the maybe predictions and things story those types of storylines heading into the season, not so much all the drama. I know that's entertainment, that's part of it, but
Hmm.
it gets sometimes gets a little too much. But I'm like I said, like you, I'm more into the basketball side of those things, like who's going to win the championship, all the moves and things like that. So, but let's start there with some of the storylines heading into this historic 30th season for the W. Talk about a little bit of a couple storylines that you're looking towards in this upcoming season.
Yeah, I would say the number one for me is definitely how well Angel Reese is going to fit into the Atlanta Dream
Yes.
um, lineup. I think that was like a big blockbuster trade right at the beginning of free agency,
Yep.
that a lot of people didn't see coming. I didn't see it
I
coming. I
didn't.
think we all, yeah, I don't know if anyone really predicted that, maybe
No.
within the close circles
Yeah.
of people that were dealing with the trade, but we all thought she was locked in and the sky wasn't going to let her go. And even though I'm based in Chicago, I'm actually very happy about the trade because I knew that her relationship with Chicago and the management there, like it just wasn't working. Like that was
Mhm.
very clear. It wasn't working. So I'm very excited that she landed in Atlanta. I love Atlanta, and I feel like there's actually quite a bit of crossover between the people who live in Chicago and people who live in Atlanta.
Mm.
The few times that I've visited, obviously, like Chicago's the Midwest, Atlanta's the South,
Yeah.
but I just feel like there's a crossover between the cities a little bit. I don't know if that's a hot take. um, but yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited to see how she fits into the offense. I'm excited to see how she's going to play with the superstars and Alicia and Ryan and
Yeah.
Nas and Jordan Canada. I was a fan of Atlanta last year when it came down to the semifinals. I was rooting for them. Obviously, the Fever took them down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say Angel in Atlanta is a big one for me. Um, Dallas as well. Obviously, we know they got the two number one picks back to back. So hopefully, seeing them have a better season than Paige's first season, and maybe being playoff contenders. We'll see. I don't
Mm.
know. They're still very like new and fresh and everything, and it usually takes a few years. But obviously, like the Fever, for example, they got the two number one picks back to back and made it all the way to the semifinals already. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I,
yeah.
yes, and that yeah, as you said, Angel Reese starting off with that trade going to Atlanta. I like you said, you live in Chicago and didn't even yes, they said there was a lot of different, her Angel Reese calling basically calling out the team in itself last year, and that didn't sit well. Not getting on, her and the general manager not seeing eye to eye. I mean, injuries definitely. I feel like what she said, I think we talked about this too. What she said was basically true. She just not to call
Mhm.
her teammates out, but saying, we need more talent and things like that. And it's interesting now that Chicago's trying to load up on talent when they trade Angel Reese as well. So, but maybe it's a good thing that they did separate, and now Angel can now she goes to Atlanta, more talented team at the moment as well. So I mean, I'm interested to see how that dynamic happens, and what her skill set, how it portrays in Atlanta, and everything too. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I was very surprised when I saw this. Like, oh, I didn't think it was going to be this year. Maybe the next year where but I guess, like I said, that relationship just it was fractured. So they just moved Angel right now. So yeah, that should be a very interesting one. And you said AZ Fudd and Paige now back together. And like I said, we're talking the basketball side. So we you talked about that. So yeah, but we talked basketball. They played together, won a championship together, and so now we get to see that dynamic. And then Paige even said herself, or I think no, I think AZ Fudd said it was just like yeah, it was the first few practices. She said it was like riding a bike. She said we just had that connection on the floor. So, but like I said, hopefully they can improve from last season, from Paige's first season. So, yeah, they that connection's still there from their UConn days. So that should be a pretty decent transition. But we'll see how that works heading forward. Any other teams that you got your eyes on? It looks like from the top, you got the Aces and the Liberty. So you have those two. They look like they're going to be the two top teams according to a lot of predictions and things like that. Uh, the Aces coming off another championship run as well. Liberty now new coaching, and they've loaded up again as well. So out of those two teams, you feel like those are the two top teams heading forward.
I would actually say the Aces and Fever is what I was
Oh
thinking.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because New York definitely a great team as well. But as we know, last year they didn't make it far in the playoffs.
Yeah, first round and they were out. Yep.
Yeah. And then I know that they got Satu Sabali, so that's huge.
Yep.
But I'm a little bit concerned about chemistry issues with them. Like I need to see it a little bit more, I suppose. But I guess the same could be said for the Fever as well. You know, they have a couple of different players, not the same exact team as last year, but I would put the Fever a little bit above New York. But definitely the Aces, absolutely. I mean, they're pretty much like, yeah, they are a dynasty. And at this point, it's like, well, who can take them down? And then obviously adding another big story would be Kennedy Carter back in the league.
Yes.
She hasn't officially made the roster yet, I don't believe. But the fact that she's on a training camp roster with the Aces, we know she's very capable of cooking people in the W. So her back, and then for her to be back on the Aces of all teams is like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those pictures of her standing next to Asia is like, is this real? So yeah, definitely. It's kind of always the story of like who's gonna beat the Aces. Asia's like
Yeah.
in her prime.
Yep.
Adding someone like Kennedy Carter is crazy, and then yeah, still having Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, two of the best guards. I want to say like historically two of the best guards to ever play in the W. By the time their careers are over.
Yeah, for sure. And Kenny Carter, one of the most gifted players, guards, um, that we've seen in a long time. I mean, this incredible woman can score, can break down a defense, can score in a lot of different ways, and something like that can create her own shot. Someone like that, on top of what the Aces already have with their championship experience, and you know it's like, yes, they said it's a risk because he said sometimes with Kenny Carter of locker room things and all this, but this would be a team that can actually get the best out of her, and she can help. Like I said, if she makes the roster for first, she could really help a team like the Aces. with that. But they this would be the right thing with Becky Hammon leading the way because they're not going to put up with anything. So they're not going to put up
Exactly.
with any
Yeah.
nonsense or anything like that. And not to say that's what it would be, but if there's some things that would ruin the locker room, like say Aisha Wilson, the best player in the world. And like what everybody says that she's the best player in the world is Aisha Wilson. So uh someone with her and that leadership as well, Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, and like I said, Becky Hammon. I think Kenny Carter could fit right in. If she fits right in, yeah, the Aces are still the team to beat. They were already dangerous, and if Kenny Carter just brings what her skill set is, that makes them more dangerous as well. But brought the fever, and I think they really got a shot because they were a few minutes away from going to to the finals, and now they get a healthy Caitlin Clark back. And they load up on a lot of guards. Some people are saying they might be too small because they're very guard heavy. But you get someone like Caitlin Clark back and healthy and motivated, Indiana they're going to be very, very, very dangerous for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The fact that she like barely even played last season, I think some
Yeah.
people may have forgotten how talented she is, and she
Hmm.
definitely seems very hungry, having to have sat out for so long. So I can definitely see her having an amazing season, assuming she stays healthy.
Yeah, that's the big key, staying healthy. But they got a really good team, and I know it was only one game, but the way they looked yesterday, they
Hmm.
want to run. And Caitlin even said she said herself, "I'm the best transition. This is where I think we thrive on. I'm the best transition player." I know there was some blowback with that, but I'm looking. It's like there's not too many that can take get that there are plenty, but can get that ball. And when she got the ball in her hands and just want to pay, they want to transition. And Coach Steph White wants to play fast, play discipline. And with Caitlin with the ball in her hands, she's like a wizard, a magician. And the ball in her head, she's looking up court and looking for Kelsey Mitchell and Leah Boston running the floor. And with that team, they're the most dangerous when the ball's in her hands and they're running in transition. And now they might have her play off the ball even more. I know some things that saying she's better with the ball in her hands, but she's accepting and wants to play. They say it makes it even more dangerous, especially if we run. You got a guard now at the 3 point. You got a guard beyond the 3 point line, even when the ball's not in her hands. So that attention that she brings is going to see uh, how that's going to transition. So I'm very interested if Indiana stays healthy, what they can do for sure.
Yeah, and I think adding Monique Billings too was an
Oh
interesting
yes,
move. Yeah,
absolutely.
and I think she could be a really great fit for them. So I'm excited to see her play there. And then obviously we know Raven Johnson was
Raven Johnson.
drafted there. So I
Yep.
don't know how many minutes she'll get, when the regular season starts. I do think she'll make the roster.
Mm.
Maybe limited minutes, but she was one of my favorite players from the draft. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see her.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting too. Yeah, getting someone like Raven Johnson, and a player that's defensively a monster, but another guard that can handle the ball. And you say play defense, play that perimeter D, and I know that Coach White's going to be tinkering with a lot of different lineups. With that, they might go very very small. Sophie Cunningham, she come off the bench, start. Lexi Hall, she re-signed as well. So they're kind of running it back with just about everybody, almost everybody
Yeah.
back. But you said adding someone like Monique Billings and getting someone like a Raven Johnson. Yeah, if they can stay healthy, they're definitely going to be a challenge for the final for the title for sure. Um, any other um, any other headlines? Top headlines? One of them I want to talk about is the debut of the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. The league keeps expanding. They're gonna be expanding even more within these next 3-4 years. But talk about the expansion and what you're looking forward to towards what the expansion era begins right now.
Yeah, the expansion's obviously super exciting. We wish it could be faster, but these
Yes.
these these things take time. But I think yeah, Portland and Toronto were perfect spots. I think both of those cities have a huge need and demand for women's basketball. Portland in general is just huge on women's sports. And then with Toronto, obviously we know that's in Canada,
Yep.
and Canada hasn't really ever had, like a woman. They haven't ever had a women's basketball team, and they're not as big as about basketball as they are about hockey. So I think it's cool to be expanding internationally, even though Canada really feels similar to the U.S. But yeah, I think both of those spots are great. I hope to visit both of those spots on my arena tour.
Yeah. Yes.
I have been to both of those cities, so I do enjoy them. But yeah, I would definitely go back for a W game. So I think those are great. And then the other expansion teams, we got Cleveland, we've got um, Philly, right?
Philly's coming
Philly,
2030. Yep. Hmm.
yeah, and
Yes.
then Detroit.
Yes.
So yeah, Detroit's only 4 hours from Chicago, so I would definitely go check out a
Yes.
Detroit
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But yeah, all those cities really great for women's basketball. And I'm excited. I'm excited for them to get teams and to just
Yeah.
keep expanding.
They keep expanding. We had Golden State last season, and they were a
Yeah,
huge success. The getting to the
seriously.
playoffs, yeah, getting to the playoffs, and
I
that
don't
was
think anyone's gonna beat them. That was like the craziest expansion
yeah,
experience we've ever seen across like sports in general. Just
yes,
like
yes.
completely exceeded expectations. Wild.
Mm, yeah, that was wild, and yeah, that was it's gonna be yeah, I'm loving the expansion was coming up, and then you got the story with Connecticut. Now this is their last season, which was unfortunate. It's very unfortunate for
Hmm.
those fans in Connecticut, but now they'll be transitioning into Houston. They'll be the Houston Comets again, where we seen Houston Comets from the beginning, like I said, 30 years ago, win those first four championships with that dynasty, and now we'll have that. What do you
Iconic.
think of yeah? What do you think of that? With the Connecticut Sun now transitioning in to now Houston. I know Boston was talked about, and that whole thing just didn't work out. We heard all the where who was what was going on, what wasn't going on. I mean, there was all those news rumors and things like that. But now it's going to be officially Houston next season. But how do you feel about with the Connecticut Sun and this being the last season in Connecticut?
Yeah, I think it's pretty sad actually, I think, because I
Yeah.
know Connecticut is a big women's basketball. Obviously, they have UConn. And yeah, that team has just they've been around for a while. They're like the only team that's owned by an indigenous tribe as well, the Mohegan Sun.
Yes.
So there's a lot of history and emotions, and I think it is really sad. I am actually going
Mhm.
to go to a Connecticut Sun game so I can see them at least once before they're gone. Because I haven't been to their arena yet. So I'm going to go in like about 2 weeks. So I'm very excited
Okay.
to see them capture some content. But yeah, honestly, it's kind of sad and how the deal went down and everything. We don't have to get into the details, but it feels very
Yeah.
political. I guess is the one word to put it. Very
That's a good
political.
word. That's a really good word to put
Yeah,
it. Yes. I
we'll
agree.
just leave that open ended to the viewers.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you heard yet, but actually they're having issues with the trademark of the Comets name. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, so the WNBA, or I guess technically, it's always through the NBA. They let the trademarks of like multiple iconic teams fall
Mm.
through the cracks, and then people pick them up. Smart people pick them up.
Yeah.
I do think they will get them back, but they're just going to have to pay a lot of money now.
Yes. Trademark
um,
things, yeah, it's a lot of money for trademarks for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I think one guy scooped up two of them. Like one dude scooped up two names, so he's going to be like rich now. And then I think Comet specifically, it's like a private company somewhere that's like somewhat linked to Travis Scott, I guess, which
Ooh.
I didn't look too much into the details, but apparently he's linked to this like private holding company that took the trademark. So now the W has to try to get it back from them as well. So that's like a whole mess of, I want to say, like growing pains with the W and just like, people in certain positions letting things fall through the cracks that they shouldn't have. So that's kind of sad because obviously now everything's delayed. But I do think they'll get the name back at the end of the day. And of course, it is cool to see the Houston Comets come back, but it was kind of like not in this way.
Yeah.
But we have to continue to look at the positive things and keep moving forward, because when businesses do scale as quickly as the W is now, a lot of things happen, both good
Yeah.
and bad.
Yes, absolutely. That's good. Very well said. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna get into the details either of the business side, but that type of business side of how this all went down. We saw a lot of things. It looks like there's still things to be ironed out, as you said, trademark and all these things. So, but you're right. It's the way the business has been moving in the W, just from this off season. We talked at length about all media outlets and journalists and all, and with media, we talked about the collective bargaining. So you talk about that business, and now look at how that turned out. A historic deal happened for the W for them to move forward and be able to have a full season, which we're both excited about, and all other fans and who cover this league is very excited. So yeah, so we move forward from that. That was a stressful stressful winter months and negotiating, and it seemed like every day there was something different. There was no negotiation. There were negotiations, and then they finally did it. And now you have players that have signed those super max deals, like Asia Wilson, like Brianna Stewart, uh, and others, Leah Boston, and Kelsey Plum. They've signed these deals, and now the women are getting paid. So, to elaborate a little bit more about how excited you were when you did hear the news about the W and the league coming together and signing that historic deal, so they can have a season.
Yeah, I want to say it's exciting, but for me, I'm like, it's expected. And I was like,
Mm,
they should have been getting it a while ago.
yeah, yeah,
But of course, like, we're here now, so it is very exciting. And I know it's really cool to be seeing the headlines, like $1 million, $1 million players and all that. So
yeah.
very, very happy for them. And hopefully, it continues to go up too, because obviously there's still a significant gap between W players and NBA players. It's closing a little bit, but it's still very significant. Like, someone of Asia Wilson's talent, like her comparable player in the NBA would be making, like, I don't know, what does Steph Curry make? Like 200 million in a 4-year deal or something?
Something like that, 50, 40,
Yeah.
50, 60 million a year nowadays.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but still, like, okay, she signed a $5 million deal compared to like a $50 million deal. But yeah, still very exciting, and I know these things do take time too, right? When you look at the business side as well. And I know more and more brand deals, more brands are being interested, so they're still going to get
Yep.
their money um, that way. And then also the benefits too. I think that gets a little bit overlooked. Everyone's always looking at the dollar signs, but I think they fought for a lot of cool benefits too, right? Like parental leave,
Yep.
housing, and I think retirement savings, all of that.
Yes. Yep.
Um, the less glamorous things of the CBA.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's the thing right there. That as you said, the less glamorous, but there was so many details in that deal. You said housing and retirement and everything else. So yeah, so they definitely got what they deserve, for sure. And I was super excited for them, and now they're able to get these $1 million deals, and they'll continue as long as the viewership, fans and everything watches and continues to support. um there'll be another deal and a bigger deal, and you said, and also you got the the huge TV deal as well. Now you can see the league and games on a lot of different platforms, besides ESPN, NBC, or ESPN, I should say NBC, ESPN, ABC. So now you got Peacock, you got NBC, Amazon Prime, Ion, USA, now. So yeah, talk about that too. Just on top of where, yeah, you can find CBS, find multiple games, on different platforms, on different state TV networks now, which is just shows a more the investment in the W, getting those opportunities to air their games on a lot of different a lot of different TV network deals now. So they have all that where you can see games almost every day on these streaming in. I know people have complained, I don't know where to find these games. I got to get all these platforms. I got to get all these networks. And yeah, the NBA is doing it, the NFL, but the W now that you're able to watch games, and then on top of it, you got League Pass if you get the League Pass too. So there's games there's games for everyone to watch now, and that's what we wanted anyway.
Yeah, I think to your point too, just like in general, like how to watch sports, men's, women's, whatever sport, it is just getting more and more complicated with so many different streaming platforms and how like you have to have a subscription to like 10 different
Yes.
things
Yeah.
because like certain games are on certain channels based on certain contracts, which so that's
Hmm.
just like a in general um issue that I don't think is going away anytime soon. And so obviously the WS has to deal with that as well. They're not unique in that sense that they're just so spread out between like all the networks that you just named. But I think it is obviously really great that more networks are wanting to air them because obviously there's the demand and the viewership, which
Yep.
then leads to advertisement dollars. So
Yes.
I think it's really great. Obviously, if we had one clean place where we can watch all the games, that's ideal. But that's like not realistic in the world the world we're living in today. League Pass, I guess, would be like the closest thing if you get the League Pass subscription. But like the games on Prime, I think that's big. Just knowing how big Amazon is as a company
Yeah.
um, and their video platform. Obviously, they're inching their way into more and more NBA coverage. So the fact that they're also doing that with the WNBA, I think is really great. And I know they have some of like the big games with the most popular players, a lot of Fever games, a lot of Liberty games. I noticed. And then yeah, there's this transition period too because we're still in the older media rights deal with the W. They secured a new one, but I don't believe it is active or live until I want to say 2027 or maybe even 2028.
Yeah.
And so that's a new media rights deal with like significantly more money, and we're going to see some big changes happening. So we're still technically in the older media rights deal.
Yes, we are, and you're right. That's a good point. And again, it says to the broadcast network slate in the WNBA is set for 75 combined windows on cable between USA Network, ESPN, NBA TV, plus 47 on direct to subscribers streaming Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video, and Peacock, and also simulcast on NBC Sports Network. And then they have from between June and August, which this is what I love. ESPN will have Sunday night basketball. That's significant. So those are like I think it's great because it said more platforms. And you're right. There's the great about I got to subscribe to this, and this. It's getting expensive if you don't have Amazon Prime, cable, NBA TV, Peacock. You got so. But if
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to watch some of these games, there's options. So I think that's where that's what it is. So got a couple of comments here. Melvin Eccles, thanks for tuning in. Says great show. He loves the W talk that we're doing. So we love that. Thank you. Thank you. Nathan Ramasandra says hi, Amanda, and
What's up?
everything. Yeah, appreciate it. He says here, the question, what are your thoughts on the WNBA offseason so far? We kind of talked about that. But also do you like in the free agent market still with Crystal Bradford, where do you see her? Where do you think she goes? And that's for there's a couple players out there that are still free agents. And I think it's just like any other league. There's always free agents that will sign later and that will sign when roster spots there's going to be cuts and things like that, which is unfortunate um when it comes to that. But what do you think of that? Like, do they open up more spots? I know they are, but continue to open up more spots. I think that's where expansion comes in. but we have to wait a few more years before it really expands to all those other teams. But when it comes to that, like, what do you feel about the free agent market of still not enough roster spots?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it earlier of like obviously we want to see a really fast growth, but it does take
Take time.
time and
Yep.
they're trying I want to say they're trying to move as fast as they can. Obviously I'm not in the weeds on the inside of what's going on. But I do know with the new CBA, they did fight for two development spots.
Yeah. Yep.
So something the players have spoken about that I agree with is that there should be 15 player rosters instead of 12. That would make a huge difference. And so they couldn't get the 15 player roster with the CBA negotiation, but what they did was teams can add two developmental spots. So basically, like they're not technically on the roster, but they have them like locked and loaded, ready to go, basically, which was
Yes.
something that wasn't allowed in previous seasons. So they were kind of able to push it to 14 spots in a sense. There are limitations of like those development players can only play a certain amount of games. So still definitely not the same as having, 14, 15 players. But yeah, it's still unfortunate. We're still definitely going to see the, players that deserve a spot aren't going to make it. So that part is still very unfortunate. I just think that's going to take a long time to, get
Yes.
to that point where,
I agree.
um, and the NBA has like what 30 something teams, maybe closer to 40 teams,
Yeah.
and we're still
32.
at 15, and that's with the two new teams. And then even in the next few years, it's only going to go up to like 18,
18. Yeah.
18. Yeah, which is still under 20 teams. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it'll take some time. And then another positive note would be, all these other leagues that are popping up. Players will get other chances if they're not making it in the W. They could go play for Project B. There's the Upshot League, a couple of other leagues just popping up as the women's game grows outside of the WNBA.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. Like, it is going to take time. And he said this is the 30th season for the league. And, you get other leagues that have been 75 years and they it developed. And like I said, they just been able to collective bargain a deal for more money. So that took time, took a long time. So yeah, as the popularity of the league grows, continue to grow, and things like that, there will be more teams, more market for it, and things like that. So I agree 100%. Just a couple more. Some of the mid tier teams that you're looking at. Oh, just, before that, Minnesota, the Visa card, they lost quite a bit of players. The Visa card is not going to be playing until June at the earliest. She's recovering from injury as well. Seeing predictions where Minnesota can go from they went, from last season being one of the top teams, if not the top team in the regular season, now to towards the bottom. Do you feel like that? I don't know if they're gonna free fall like that much. Still got Coach Cheryl Reeves. Uh, she's gonna have this team rolling. So I don't think they're gonna free fall like that. And waiting to see when the Visa Carter comes back. But what do you think of that? Do you think Minnesota is going to free fall into the bottom, or can they just stay in that mid tier until one of the best players in the world comes back?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually haven't been thinking about Minnesota a lot.
Mm,
I do think they'll probably struggle until Fee comes back. So that's a
right.
really great point of like, once Fee's back, that will obviously change things. But sometimes coming back from injury, it's not always smooth sailing either. I think Olivia Miles will transition pretty well in the W.
Yeah,
I think
big
out of like
addition.
a lot of the players who were drafted early on, to me, she seems like the most likely to like transition the easiest. And I could be wrong, so we'll see how that goes. But I see her getting a lot of minutes. But yeah, I do see them kind of being more. I want to say bottom. I would still say mid tier. I would still say playoff contenders.
I do.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, still able to kind of, hold a mid-tier spot. And then hopefully when Fee comes back, that would kind of, give them the strength they need to I guess be championship contenders again.
Yeah, and I think definitely going to be tough for sure. You lose fee for any amount of time, you're
Yeah.
gonna struggle. I said Sherry is a great coach, one a great coach, very very great
Oh
coach,
yeah.
one of the best. And yeah, they lost a lot. Lana Smith, Jessica Shepard, Bridget Carlton. I mean, Natisha Heidemann. They lost a lot of players, a lot of pieces. And you said fee at the earliest could come back in June. But that
Yeah.
it could be July, could lead into that. I want to see how they are able to do. I think getting Olivia Miles at the second pick was a great addition. Um, the only 2025 returning starters are their guards, Courtney Williams and Kayla McBride. Uh,
Hmm.
will that be enough? We'll see, depending, like I said, on chemistry and things like that. They did select a veteran, Natasha Howard. I know she's older, 34. So we'll see how that works. But that's a veteran presence to hold it
Hmm.
down and hold the fort down. But I like I said, I can't see Cheryl Reeves' team, you said, dropping to the bottom. You said maybe mid-tier, maybe the bottom of the mid-tier for say until Fee comes back, and then when Fee comes back, and then they implement, because she gets implemented back into it. I think Minnesota, they'll be rolling again. I don't know, like I said, championship contender, but um, totally still, I agree with you on mid tier for Minnesota. Other teams in that mid tier, you got Phoenix, and then the LA Sparks. Any other team that you think that can actually, I don't say contend for a championship, but more than likely
Like playoff
be a
contenders, at
playoff, yeah,
least.
playoff
Yeah.
contenders, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm interested in the Chicago Sky. So, and I want to hear before I say mine, I actually want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Chicago is going to be playoff contender? Do you think there's going to be chemistry issues? I want to know your thoughts because it's an
That's
interesting
good.
team this year.
It is very interesting team, and some of the players that they picked out. I know they got Sky Diggins. I'm going to look at their roster. Okay. Yes, additions: Rakia Jackson, Skylar Diggins,
Hmm.
Azara Stevens, DJ Carrington. I mean, if they could put this all together with those names, and those are some big names too. Skylar Diggins was the biggest addition to this, biggest name I should say to this team. But I've always liked Rakia Jackson's game. They could score
Yeah,
at will, like a natural scorer. And with Skylar Diggins, Azura Stevens, and DJ Carrington, I've always liked her game as well, especially defensively. Um,
they
I
still
kind
got
of
Camilla too.
Camila Cardoso, can't
Yeah,
forget, yeah, Camila Cardoso as well added to the mix. I yeah, I don't know. I think they could make the playoffs. They can seriously make the playoffs. Yeah, losing Angel, losing Ariel Atkins, those are big. But it's like subtraction, addition by subtraction, or that way. So I can see Chicago getting one of those last spots in the playoffs. So I really like, but you said it's all chemistry. It picked up a lot of players and pieces. It might take some time, but it's all about the chemistry. If the chemistry works, yeah, Chicago could be a little bit dangerous moving forward. But what do you think?
yeah. No, I agree with all of that. I think when I
Mhm.
think of Chicago this year, like before we've seen them play in the regular season, to me, they're the team that like can either be extremely like good or
Mhm.
extremely bad, and it can
Yes.
go either way very
Mhm.
quickly. I don't think there's another team where I can like say that about them, where it's like, wow, they have all these amazing guards that they signed, solid post players. But to me, I'm like, I don't know how the chemistry is going to go, right? When you have players like Rakia. And I think Dijonay is still going to be out for a good
Yeah,
chunk of
she's
the
out for a
beginning of the
while.
season,
Yeah.
similar to
Mhm.
Fee.
Yep.
So she won't even be in the lineup. So that's also significant because we know she's also like a really good defender.
Yes.
They did get the number 5 pick in Gabrielle Jaquez.
Yes.
So that also is pretty significant. Number 5 is pretty high. So we'll see how she does. And then they still have Haley Van Lith. But yeah,
Mm.
Skylar is
Yeah.
huge, and we've never seen these players play together either. Skylar and Rakia together sounds like a lethal combination, right? Just right
It
off the
does.
bat.
Yeah.
Those two on the same team, Skylar getting Rakia the ball, getting Camilla the ball, getting Azure the ball. So they definitely like the ceiling is very high for them. But when you do have like new teams with a bunch of new players that have never played together, it doesn't always work. right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I'll be very interested, and obviously based in Chicago, so I'll be able to go to a lot of the
Games.
games, so that'll
Yeah.
be exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question because yeah, they're going to be one of the most intriguing teams, and we'll see what they're able to do. Like I said, chemistry. It's all about chemistry. You put a lot of pieces together because you lost a big piece in Angel, so now you bring a lot of different, young and veteran. Because Skylar Diggins is going to play hard. She's always going to play hard, no matter. And I know she's getting up there in years, 35, but I mean, the fitness would never be questioned, and
Yeah,
her game
it's
would
like,
never be questioned. She's a
yeah.
dog. That woman is a dog. She always hoops. So she doesn't want to be on no losing team. And I think, but I said if the locker room dynamics is good, Chicago could be very. They're going to be interesting anyway because of the dynamic. But it could translate to win. So we'll see what happens there. Last team I want to ask you about is the Sparks. They end up getting Kelsey Plum last year, but that was they struggled with everything there. But they picked up Nneka Ogwumike's back in LA, Errol Atkins, Tania Lotson there. So they got pieces as well, leading with Dearica Hamby and Kelsey Plum. What do you think of this team? That's another team that's very intriguing. It could go either way. It could be one of the top 5, 6 teams, or it can be getting out of
Another
the
rough
playoffs.
season.
Yeah, rough season, leading into maybe getting one of those last spots, but maybe missing out. That's what it happens. That's what happened last year as
Yeah.
well. But the one piece I'm loving, and she's healthy this year, is Cameron Brink.
Mhm.
I think that's going to make a world of a difference with her defense, and seeing her throughout Unrivaled, and just saying how much of a difference maker she can be for this team when she's running and jumping, blocking shots, and running the floor and finishing
Mhm.
and things like that. I think that's a huge piece. So now she's back healthy. I think that helps out a lot too. But what do you think of the Sparks?
Yeah, I love watching Cameron Cameron bring block shots because
Me
she
too.
blocks them like she's
Hmm.
playing volleyball.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, it's very fun to watch her swatting shots. With LA, I think they're immediately, I mean, look at the roster. I think they have more pieces in Chicago, so I feel a little bit more confident saying they're going to be more solid.
Yes.
But it is, again, it's a lot of new pieces and like chemistry again. So somewhat similar to Chicago, but getting NECA back, getting Dearica Hamby. I think with NECA, Dearica, and Kelsey, they're consistent enough that like we know what we're going to get from them. They're going to produce most nights. I think for LA to really get over that hump and become like a top 4 or 5 team, like you were saying, I think it comes down to Cameron Brink and Ray Burrell.
Oh
I think
yes.
because those are the 2 younger players who are very, very talented and have a lot of potential. And so I think if those 2 are consistently good and healthy, that would be like what LA needs to be like a top 5 team
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you mentioned, Cameron was out for injury. Ray is still relatively new to the league. But with Ray, I feel like what we've seen her do in Unrivaled, like
Mm,
she has not even peaked yet. And I think
agreed.
that she, can be an all-star player at some point. So I always have my eye on her. She also got injured last season too, though. I think it was
Yes.
like the very first game of the season she was injured.
Yep.
So yeah, I think those 2 I would have my eye on. But yeah, I think Dearica, NECA, Plum, like we know we're gonna get very amazing, solid players. But yeah, LA will be interesting too. They made a lot
Yeah.
of moves.
LA definitely will be interesting. And I like that you said with Dearica and Kelsey, there's both all three of them are 30 and up. And
Yeah.
LA is banking on that group, the veterans and champions. NECA's back and she's ready to, she spent those 12 years in LA. She must have finished out her career. The future Hall of Famer. Definitely want to finish our career in LA. And I think that's going to help. That takes the pressure off of Kelsey Plum. We know what we're going to get with KP, and that leadership and things like that. So, but I like that. I love Ray Burrell's game and what she brings and things like that. As you said, she was she was basically unlocked and unrivaled. Like her game got unlocked, and now we're seeing the skill set. And he said Cam Brink running the floor, blocking shots. That's going to help stay healthy. I think, yeah, LA is going to be a very interesting team moving forward. It could be one of those top. I think we could be a top. You said five, six, 7 range. I could see LA getting in that, especially if everything works together and with all that talent, and getting Atkins too. Won a WNBA title, Olympic gold medal, 5-time WNBA All Defensive Selection as well. You just added another great piece with Ariel Atkins too. So yeah, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
great season. I'm excited. I know you are as well. So thank you again for coming on the show. Any other last thoughts heading into this upcoming season or what you got coming up? I know you talked a little bit about your corresponding work and some content, things like that. Anything else? Any final words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm excited to go to games and hopefully, go as a fan, but also work a little bit more this year. Travel a bit to more arenas. I'm trying
Mm,
to get to every arena. I have like about half of them. So I already mentioned going to Connecticut. I'm excited. Obviously I'll be at a lot of games in Chicago. I'm gonna go to Atlanta. So
yeah.
excited to do my WNBA traveling tour or continue it, I should say.
Yeah, continue the tour. Looking forward to it. Man, it's funny. I'm thinking back. I went to Connecticut a long time ago, and we saw a game way back. I think when the Sun first was there. They started there. So been there, been to Liberty.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other. Ooh, I think that might
Because
have
you're
been
in
it.
Philly, right?
I'm in Philly. Yep,
You're
in
in Philly,
Philly.
yeah.
Yeah, in Philly. So, well, we'll definitely be going to games when they come here in 2030. So that'll be
Yeah.
the
What about
um,
Chicago?
I
You
haven't
come
been
visit?
haven't been to a Sky game. Been to Chicago a long time ago too. Saw a Bulls game, but didn't see haven't seen the Sky. So that needs to be one. Uh, Washington's not that far from here, so would love to go
Oh,
there.
yeah,
So
that's another
I
good
gotta
team we
find.
didn't talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
We
Okay,
ran out
before
of
that,
time, but
let's talk about Washington real quick, and then
okay.
we'll wrap
Okay.
up. What's your thoughts on Washington? They got a lot of young pieces as well. So what's your thoughts on Washington?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I mean, the 2 words that come to my mind are like young and talented. So it's
Yes,
like even
yes.
though they are quite young, like their
Mhm.
talent that they've been able to secure the last 2 years from the draft, including this year,
Yep.
is like crazy. I talked about this with another one of my friends. She came on my podcast and we were just like, they stole the draft 2 years in a
2 years
row.
in a
And I
row,
feel
right.
like it's not being like talked about, but in a couple of years when they're championship contenders, it's going to be talked about.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
just how they've been able to like quietly snag amazing talent, multiple players from the last two drafts. But obviously they still are quite young. And I
Yeah.
think their average age was like something crazy young. I saw a post about it. And I think like Shakira Austin might be the oldest player, and she's not even old.
Yeah, it's only
So
her 5th season. Right.
yeah, I
Yes.
that's what it
Mhm.
was. I think that's what it was. Like
Yeah.
their oldest player is only in her fifth season, and it's Shakira Austin.
Yes.
So with young teams, obviously they'll struggle with
Yeah,
certain
growing pains.
things,
Yep.
but then again, they'll have more energy, and
Yeah.
certain people can adjust to the league quicker than others. So I think someone we've seen do that would be like Sonia, who made it into Unrivaled. And then Kiki Iriafin as well, Georgia Amore being back. Like
Yep. That's a big piece.
um, yeah, and then they got a whole bunch of new players. Actually, one of the players they drafted went to my high school. She was the first player from my high school to ever be drafted in
Okay.
any professional league, and Angela Dugalich.
Yep.
Yeah, so shout out to Angela. We both went to Maine West High School.
All right. Well, shout out. Yes. And was
Yeah, that was
drafted
pretty cool to
and
see.
that was, and then also on top of that, Lauren Betts, they drafted as as well, and then Shakira
Yep.
Austin re-signing. So they got the big Kiki Irfin. I love her game,
Yeah.
and definitely another player that was experience with unrivaled USA basketball as well. And Tony Citron. I mean, a beast. So yeah, you add those pieces, and then Georgia Amore back off of injury, ready to make her debut as well, missing all of last season.
Hmm.
This could be another dangerous team. And but as you said, even if that youth and that young generation that they have is accelerating, if it's not this year and they stay together, and that said that youth plays together, they can build and grow. And next thing you know, they're one of the more dangerous teams. So I do like Washington too. I think they could definitely vie for one of those bottom spots to make the playoffs. So yeah, they're going to be dangerous as a team as well,
Yeah,
for
definitely. I
sure.
got to
Yeah.
get to DC now.
Yes, yes, I know. I talked about DC. I'm a couple hours away, so yeah,
Yeah.
that could be something too. So, but Amanda, thank you again for doing this. I'm so glad to start off the WNBA season preview series that I'm doing for the next 2 weeks, and having you on for your insight and perspective. So, but let everyone know where they can follow you on social media, want to follow your journey, your content, and reach out, and maybe you'll see them, or they'll see you at a arena near them. So
Yeah.
so yeah, let everyone know where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah. First, thank you so much for having me. It's always great
Absolutely.
to talk with you. So we'll have to do this again, maybe mid-season or
Yes.
something after
Do a
all
check
the
in.
crazy stuff goes
Yeah.
down. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me on your platform and all the
You're
work you
welcome.
do for
Thank
women's
you.
sports. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at amanda.mochi, and then on YouTube and TikTok at Hoops and Healing. Those are the three platforms I'm on that you can find me right now.
Follow, like, subscribe, reach out, share, all those things. You said Hoops and Healing podcast, love it. Love the conversations you've been having about just women in sports, business, media, things like that. And like I said, follow Amanda's content on all those platforms. Thanks again, Amanda. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll do a mid check in, and as you said, if you're in Philly or I'm in Chicago, whatever, maybe All Star, something like that. I know that's always
Yeah.
travel as well. So yeah, we'll be on, like, I'm sure we'll be on something together, whether it is a Zoom, or because they're gonna probably start doing the Zoom meetings and for the W. I know they'll probably have a season preview one coming up. So
Yeah.
we're locked in for it, and get those links. We'll share it with each other, and we'll connect. So definitely network. So appreciate the time. Thank you again, and we'll check in mid season as well.
Sounds good. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Yep. Thank you. All right. You have a good one. Have a good week.
You too. Talk to you
Thanks.
soon. Bye.
Bye.